a product reveal or a product kind of launch preview at the end of the presentation today. So Bette will be walking us through that. Then we actually have one other kind of surprise at the end. So we'll try to make it fairly quick here. Wanted to put this up. The last chance to join the Crowdloan is actually, to join the waitlist is actually right now. There's around 165,000 people who have joined the waitlist and expressed interest in contributing to Acala's Crowdloan when that does launch. We do not have a date quite yet, unfortunately. But the Crowdloan's open for the Crowdloan waitlist is open for the next 30 minutes. So I just dropped the link in the chat. I'll paste it again because there's a lot of chat activity right now. But if you still are not on the waitlist, the link is right here, and you can join before we close that about halfway through this crowdcast. So first, let's talk about what Polkadot is. So Polkadot is this multi-chain or multi-blockchain environment that is connecting together many different blockchains that we call parachains in the Polkadot world. Polkadot was actually founded by Gavin Wood, who invented the Ethereum virtual machine and created the Solidity programming language when he was one of the co-founders and CTO of Ethereum back when it was founded. After Gavin founded Polkadot, he realized that there was going to be down the line, say 5-6 years down the line where we are today, there was going to be some scaling problems. There was going to be some challenges to growing the network, which we're seeing kind of today and feeling today with some of the challenges, including gas fees and things like that. Gavin's solution was Polkadot, so he founded Polkadot with Rob Habermeyer and Peter Shaban. And today we're getting very close to the kind of the end of Polkadot's launch, which is the launch of these parachains that launch on Polkadot. When you really boil it down to the simplest terms, Polkadot connects blockchains together. So this is a buzzword you may have heard, interoperability. It's been talked about for the last probably 4 years or so, and finally becoming a reality with the launch of Polkadot. And then number two, this is more relevant for blockchain teams, but for us, one of the reasons why we wanted to build on Polkadot is because Polkadot actually secures our blockchains. You may be aware of Bitcoin miners that help secure the Bitcoin blockchain, or miners that help run the Ethereum blockchain. Well, with Polkadot, we as a blockchain team at Acala, we can just plug into Polkadot's security instead of needing to do all of that ourselves, which is a big help to us. Two other kind of vocabulary words for you with Polkadot. The relay chain is this kind of the center here that is connecting all of these parachains together. The relay chain is kind of the core of Polkadot. And then these parachains on the outside, if you zoom into one, that's what Acala will look like once we're launched on Polkadot. A parachain is just one blockchain as part of this whole kind of living and breathing organism of Polkadot. Just to kind of go in a little bit deeper on what parachains are. So parachains can be, don't necessarily have to be a smart contract platform. So this is where you have a layer 1 blockchain like Acala where you can build applications on the blockchain. And then, like I said, all of these parachains are sharing Polkadot security in the proof of stake model that Polkadot provides. I won't go through all of these, but just a couple of other reasons why Acala chose to build on Polkadot. Polkadot has a blockchain development framework called Substrate. Substrate allows us to customize our blockchain for specific applications. So for example, with Acala, we've been able to build our blockchain specifically for DeFi. So we've built features into the blockchain, including a stablecoin, a decentralized exchange, liquid staking. We'll get into more of these later, but these are all products or features built into the blockchain itself that anyone building on Acala's EVM environment or building just any application in general on Acala can leverage the liquidity or the kind of the funds or users within that environment. And then just an overview of the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem. Polkadot's sitting at around 34 billion in market cap, so it's one of the top 10 projects in the crypto industry. There are now 10 live parachains on Polkadot's experimental network called Kusama. So Acala has a platform called Karura that's live and been active for a couple months now on Kusama and fully kind of active over there. And there's just a huge thriving ecosystem across both Polkadot and Kusama. So what we'll be seeing now with the launch of Polkadot parachains is ultimately the end of Polkadot's launch. That's been kind of a long time coming over the last 4 or so years, where the team at Parity and Polkadot have been building this. So now that you have the background on Polkadot and kind of what we're building, why we chose to build on Polkadot, Betty's going to now get into specifically details around Acala and what we're building at Acala before we go into the parachain auction. So go ahead, Betty.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, so next I'll give an overview of Acala. And for many of you here, you're probably already quite familiar with what Acala is doing, but also I think there are a lot of new folks coming into the community. So try to explain in a simple way that what our visions are, and then how we get to this point and where we are heading, right? So the tagline is, well, if you can scroll back, then I'm trying to read the tagline. One of the value proposition is trying to scale the decentralized applications to deploy on Polkadot and with Acala platform. And we are an Ethereum compatible smart contract platform, but we have our own niche. Our niche is decentralized finance and an open finance platform. So yeah, and then I'll explain what that actually means. So if you look at Acala in a bit of distance, our goal has always been bringing a more democratized or more open financial systems and also services to everybody on the planet, right? That's a very bold and very broad vision, but how we get there is through providing a decentralized finance hub or platform as the infrastructure, and then work with many different application protocol builders and also fintech institutions to be able to bring those experience to everybody, to your friends and families, folks who are not necessarily need to use a crypto wallet or even do yield farming, but can still enjoy a lot of the stuff that we built here to give them options for their financial access. And that is we kind of tune it this like as an app store for finance, but a decentralized one, right? And I try to summarize, Acala in just a few terms, see if you can grasp the concept here. But we'll have some visuals later on to help you out. So basically, the starting point of Acala is we are one of the parachains on Polkadot, and we are basically taking the position as the liquidity and DeFi hub of Polkadot. And in order to become a liquidity and DeFi hub, you don't just claim the name, right? You gotta, have the features to enable us to do that. So there are kind of like 3 things there that we have already built, right? Number one is we have building DeFi primitives as well as DeFi optimizations, and those are a Polkadot or dot asset based decentralized stablecoin. And as those of you who are, sort of know or familiar with stablecoins, their demand is in the rise. And often supply couldn't actually catch the demand of stablecoin, because stablecoin is used for trading, for leveraging, for payments, for settlements. There are many use cases. They are also the very, very base level of building block for many of the decentralized financial protocols and services. And there are only a small handful, less than a handful, maybe a couple of rising stablecoin, decentralized rising stablecoins at the moment in the market. So certainly the market is huge. At the same time, it usually requires high quality assets to back them. And in our case, we certainly start from the dot asset classes to create the stablecoin. And then the next thing is releasing or aggregating a lot of the liquidity from the Polkadot ecosystem. That's from liquid staking, the dot related derivatives, as well as assets from other parachains that we are going to list, as well as really going beyond the Polkadot ecosystem is bridging various different type of assets like BTC, like ETH, like other ecosystem like Solana, Terra, and also many other rising ecosystems there. So those built-in liquidity and also built-in primitives or building blocks is gonna be very attractive for the protocols that build on top of Acala and help us together to deliver those DeFi services and experiences to the end users. And this is done through smart contract, open permissionless platform. And the first one that we implemented is the Ethereum compatible EVM. There are other technology are being built, but once those ready, we'll release them. So. Yeah, so I won't go into detail of this slide. So for those who are very keen to understand the offerings that we have, you can have a read about this afterwards. But I'll just point out a couple of things that are probably quite unique about Acala. So number one is obviously, we claim ourselves to be DeFi chain, and as one of the reasons is we are able to customize at the blockchain layer to actually serve many of the more scalable, even institutional applications that serve the mass market. Maybe two examples. One of them is, for users on the chain, you can actually pay a gas fee in any token you like. So for example, if you're doing, imagine, you're doing a Visa card transaction, paying $10. That transaction is actually settled on, for example, Acala. You don't need to pay this weird native token as fees, which the price fluctuates up and down dramatically day after day. The accountant wouldn't, wouldn't be able to grasp that concept. But on the Acala chain, we have already managed to pay transaction fees in any token, including stablecoin. And that might seem a very subtle and very tiny customization, but in any chain that cannot, customize at a chain level, this is a very, very hard thing to do. It's not that you can write the best smart contract, you can actually change the economy of the blockchain. But for a solution like Acala that we are, basically optimized for DeFi use cases, that's something that we can do. And then the second thing is more for folks who are a little bit more familiar with DeFi, right? So in many of the DeFi protocols, whether it's for lending, borrowing, using some sort of collaterals, or some yield aggregator, right? You often require this application called Keeper, which is automatically rebalance your earnings or automatically check the risk of the position and then to liquidate your position. So so far, all of these are actually done off the blockchain. And if folks who are slightly familiar with how the banking system works today, is there are a lot of the schedulers, right? This automatic so-called Keeper type of applications linking various different parts of the system together to actually make the whole thing automatic, right? And then we are here to produce this decentralized or Web3 technology stack to kind of trying to replace or at least, evolve those old systems. But we are kind of like today we're still piecing bits and pieces together on chain and off chain. So the Keeper is a critical piece in many of these financial transactions, whilst they are done in a centralized server running by known or unknown parties off the blockchain that requires trust, right? So this is also not something that really a smart contract developer can solve. This actually require on the blockchain under more fundamental change of the blockchain structure. And this is something Substrate and Acala are able to implement to have this keeper functionality, the automatic scheduling functionality implemented on the blockchain itself, right? So, and this is not us just claiming it. We have already gone live with this feature on our blockchain deployed on the Kusama blockchain, and that's the sister network of Polkadot. And our liquidation and collateral system is actually using this feature live, right? So it actually works, and it's amazing. So that's how much I would say on for the solution that we have for Acala. Yeah, so this slide, I'll just like briefly talk about the Acala tech stack. So you can read it from the bottom to top, right? So this is basically everything as a service. So at the bottom, you can see Polkadot is the ledger as well as the trust as a service, because Polkadot is basically keeping track of everything that's going on, and then at the same time, it provides a validator set, and that's when you hear people say, it's shared security, and that's basically it provides its validator set for all the blockchains that connects to it, or parachains connects to it. And then Acala actually uses Polkadot's trust as a service. And then for Acala, then you can say Acala is a DeFi as a service. So at the very, very bottom layer, built-in liquidity through the liquid staking, through the DEX that we have, as well as built-in primitives like the stablecoin that we produce, as well as DeFi optimizations. And these are just a few examples that we have. And as we progress and work with more people, I'm sure there will be unknown optimization that we'll have to do in the future to kind of innovate our way through time. And then above this layer is the open protocol layer. So we are almost like a sandwich, right? At the bottom is the infrastructure that we help to power this economy. And then in the middle layer, it is the open protocol layer. Right now, it's done through the EVM plus. Obviously, it's fully compatible with Ethereum, but at the same time, it's all customizable with all the features that I mentioned at the bottom layer are all made available in the open protocol layer. And in the open protocol layer, basically it's permissionless. Anyone can use any of the facility that we provide to create another layer of applications, protocols, lending and borrowing, any type of financial instruments. And then on the top layer, we have set ourselves up as the hi-fi infrastructure provider, and that's hybrid of DeFi and centralized finance. Because in order to actually get to, my mom and dad to actually be able to enjoy some of the benefits that we built in the Solvent Web3 technology here, I don't think they're gonna use MetaMask one day, regardless, how much we actually improve in that regard. Or I don't think they're ever gonna use Polkadot.js one day, right? I think those are more for early adopters and folks who actually know what they're doing. And it's more likely majority of the people will still be, swiping their card, using the app they're familiar with. But behind the scene, many of those operations are actually powered by the infrastructure that we provide here in the Web3 or the decentralized DeFi infrastructure. And that's the stuff that you see on the top, right? So then it's like a sandwich, right? So then we are in a position to actually help link up the end-to-end experience so that we can serve more people, I guess. And then on the side that you can see is the connectivity, the multi-chain aspect of it. We can connect all the other chains within the Polkadot ecosystem trustlessly by default. And then we also have multiple different bridges into all the other different blockchain ecosystems as well, so that we are truly in a multi-chain setup for, I guess, scale, as well as having the import and export of various different assets between all those ecosystems. Cool. So this is just another sort of illustration showing some of the examples there. So so we, for example, we have multiple Bitcoin bridges that is going to bring BTC assets into the Acala chain, and also multiple Ethereum bridges, and also, as I mentioned, also bridges to other ecosystems as well to bring all those assets together. And then we've also connected to Compound Gateway to upload and download Polkadot ecosystem assets onto Compound, as well as download other assets and Compound Cash into the ecosystem to actually serve all the economy here. So these are just like two examples that I kind of alluded to. So basically on the top layer, the top layer, current.com is basically sitting at the top layer there as the fintech integrator that we have. Through them, we will potentially be able to serve, at least 3 million US customers who doesn't necessarily need to know the tech behind the scene, but are able to enjoy the financial services that are powered by Acala. And then in order to actually do all of this stuff that we are having, right, serving more people, working with fintech companies, as well as supporting the DeFi expansion, security is always, sort of the number one in our mind. There's two aspects, and probably more aspects of security. One is certainly the code or the technical security. The other is the economic security, because we're in DeFi. So we have a long-term sort of partnership with Ganglet Network, who is the economic auditor for Aave, Compound, and Maker, and a few other notable protocols, and they're helping us to kind of assess our risks ongoing. And then we also work with Trail of Bits, SR Labs, and Slow Mist, and some other auditors to continuously audit our code base as we are continue to evolve even to today, right? So we've done I think so far 5 security audits, but we're about to turn on this ongoing security audit. Like every month there will be audits to ensure our code base is safe. So here are just some numbers. For those of you who are relatively new, there are Polkadot ecosystem has 2 networks. There's Polkadot and there's also Kusama. And then the Kusama network has already gone live, right? It already gone live with 10 parachains. And then Acala's sister network called Karura has already launched on Kusama. So some of the numbers here are like live real data from that network. So far, there's we kind of accrued, well, thanks to all of you guys, you are one of the 630,000 community members we have worldwide. And then we currently have more than 72,000 account holders on the network. And I think we have more than 30 ecosystem partners now, but we're just like we didn't keep the exact number, but we're going to release the list of all the ecosystem partner that we have in coming days. And then on the Karura chain that we have, so we have already accumulated about 2% of the KSM token. If you can translate that as like 2% of, maybe 2% of DOT on Acala, that are used for trading, minting stablecoin, liquid staking, and doing all sorts of activities on top of that. And these are just very locally within Acala, right? Or within Karura. And then as soon as we turn on EVM and also bridges, the economy all of a sudden will become a global economy. You will see globalization coming when assets, foreign assets comes into Acala, and then assets floating out of Acala, and then also applications deployed on Acala doing many of the different interesting innovations on top of it. So I would say, after 2 months, this is only just the beginning. And then I think that's it for this slide. Thanks. Cool. So I will encourage you, we can share some links for you to kind of experiment. So all of this technology that we kind of about to launch on Acala is already proven on a live network called Karura, right? And then many of so almost all of the stuff that we said on our white paper already been delivered on the Karura chain. But of course, there will be distinct differences between the two platforms. One is KSM based, one is one is DOT-based to start with. And the second thing is Acala is more geared towards fintech institution and also the higher grade of serving probably the mass market, where Karura, in a way, it has a lot of creative user base, potentially, having NFT plus DeFi application deployments on top of it, and many interesting use cases that can be experimented on Karura. So it's, so encourage you to check it out. So as I said, it's been about 2.5 years since we start building. We started with like 4 or 5 people, and then today it's kind of evolved to about 30 people also, and we are also quite decentralized. Myself and about half of the team is sitting in New Zealand, and then also another half of the development team is sitting in China. And then, Dan used to be in US, but no longer. But there's also a group of folks, the growth team, and also a couple of developers are sitting in US. And we also have folks in the Europe as well, Albania and some other areas. So it's quite spread out, and it's quite cool to work with folks from different backgrounds, different culture. It's kind of just cool. And then today we are still 80-90% engineers, economists, and product designers, and we are have a small team of growth and community managers, and then we are continuing to grow the team to kind of achieve our vision there. And then another thing to point out is I think it's probably no shame to claim we are striving to be the top development team in the Substrate and Polkadot ecosystem. We are consistently one of the top contributors to the code base, and that's what we are very happy to do, because when we first come in, the ecosystem is almost empty, just ourselves and Parity. And it's through everybody's hard work and also being able to open source and share a lot of the stuff that we did with other teams and other people who come in later to be able to grow the ecosystem. I think that's the beauty of the Polkadot setup, as well as the open source way of building a project, right? So, if you are a developer coming to this space, feel free to check out our GitHub repo and also our OIML sort of shared GitHub repository for the community. And if you could, contribute and also share your works to kind of like grow the ecosystem that we are in. So speaking of backers, I feel bad that I couldn't actually include everybody. So if you're not on this list, please don't feel offended. We always remember those who actually help us along the way. So we are, kind of lucky enough from 2 years back, have some really top folks in the industry, help us along, like Parachain, Pantera, Coinbase, Digital Currency Group. You can see it's a long list because we've intentionally trying to decentralize our VCs as well, so no one have really significant influence, but also at the same time are able to help us in different areas that we might need to get to the state that we are heading. So yeah. So here's a summary slide in terms of the thesis that we have building on top of Polkadot and why we built Acala this way, right? So the first thing is, obviously, we've been saying this for 2 years, is the future is multi-chain, and I'm sure everybody already shared that today, seeing what's happening in the industry. And then the second thing that I would say is specialization trumps generalization, right? So if you want to build the best app, you need to own the hardware. Can someone guess where that come from? So that's the Apple, right? So they own the entire tech stack, right? That's also Tesla. If you come across their latest AI release of the Tesla car, they actually customized the graphic card hardware to be able to calculate so much data on the crossroad to be able to make the right decision for autonomous driving, right? So this is also our thesis. In order to build the best decentralized finance application, you need to own the blockchain. And that's exactly what we're doing. So I think that's over to you. Talk about launching, Dan.
Sweet. Thanks, Bette, and thanks everybody for the patience and attention on all the background on Polkadot and Acala. Let's get into the details now around Crowdloans and parachain slot auctions, which I know this is why most of you are here. So first, why would we as a team want to launch a blockchain on Polkadot? I kind of hinted at both of these earlier, but first of all, we get to plug into Polkadot's security set of validators. So Polkadot is actually securing our blockchain when we launch. And then we also get this cross-chain ability. So we have the ability to send value, data, information among all the blockchains connected to Polkadot once we launch and once those other teams launch. So huge value for us to join the Polkadot ecosystem for just a couple reasons there, and many more not on the slide. And how do we actually launch on Polkadot? So there is a video that I did last week that is on our YouTube. If you haven't checked that out yet, maybe Robin can post the link in the chat here, and we'll send it in a follow-up email as well. But we decided to cut the presentation down and not include all the information about how these parachain slot auctions work. So we'll include that in the follow-up email. But at its most basic level, we want to launch on Polkadot, and for us to launch, we need to earn a slot on the network. In order to do that, we need to win this auction, like you may have seen an auction on a house in the traditional world. But we, as a team, we have two choices. We can either bid using DOT on our own, or we can do what's called a crowd loan and source a lot of DOT from the community to help us increase our bid in this auction. This crowd loan is how we source all those dots for us to use in the auction. And this is how you as community members can get involved and get your piece of Acala before we actually launch on Polkadot. So here's how it works at the most basic level. Community members, including yourselves on the call here, will contribute or loan your DOT to the Acala Crowdloan. One benefit of this is that there's no sense of the team actually getting to touch these funds. This is all completely decentralized and trustless. So these people are able to everyone's able to contribute the DOT, and the team isn't actually able to touch that. That DOT is then put up as our bid in the auction, and then when Acala wins the auction and Polkadot launches, Acala launches on Polkadot, then ACA, which is the native token of Acala, is then distributed to everyone in the community. I know some of you were asking when that would actually happen. So the way it happens is when Acala launches, we'll launch our blockchain, and then there'll be a period of, for Karura and Kusama, it was, I believe, a couple weeks, but we'll be giving you a timeline. But after launch happens, then we'll need to, we'll actually enable token transfers on the network and then be able to distribute the ACA to you. And then finally, after 2 years, which is the duration of the parachain slot on Polkadot, all the original DOT loans or contributions is then sent back to everyone who contributed those dots originally, which is step 3 here of get your crypto back. I guess a few other points on Crowdloans. So this is a very fair and community-backed launch. It allows us to involve thousands, tens of thousands of people in the process. And the team is really held accountable for executing on our plan or on our roadmap. As you may have seen with ICOs on Ethereum, there's a lot of teams who were able to just put up a website, raise millions of dollars, and then not be held accountable for actually executing on that plan, which left a lot of the contributors or the ICO participants kind of in a rough situation. So that's why I wanted to highlight that none of the teams that are running parachains and doing these crowd loans are actually able to touch the DOT that's contributed to the crowd loan. So like I said, watch the video on our YouTube if you want more information on how crowd loans work. A common question that we get, including in this tweet, is in 2 years, I get my crypto back. 2 years in crypto is like 200 years in human life, which is a common response and complaint that we got from the community. So the Acala team really kind of took this feedback to heart, and we thought through what can we do to help solve this problem where people don't want to have to necessarily put their DOT away for 2 years and not have that liquidity to use in the meantime. So we built a new product that Bette's going to walk you through. So Bette, go ahead and take us through the launch of Liquid Crowdloan DOT and explain that to everyone.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, the car is actually moving, so I hope it's not too noisy. So 2 years is a very, very long time. And also, judging on how potentially popular the project might be, we might be locking up a lot of DOT. If the DOT is actually locked in the Crowdloan, obviously it is hibernating DOT, right? It's not actually doing anything. It's not liquid. It's not helping, to power the economy or anything, but just sitting there. And also a lot of folks' feedback on, we could wait 48 weeks for the Kusama Crowdloan, but 2 years is dramatically so much longer than Kusama, and what can we do about it? So we come up with this new product called LC DOT, Liquid Crowdloan DOT. Basically, what it does is you still contribute DOT, right? So the whole concept hasn't changed. You still contribute DOT, you put it in a Crowdloan, and then you help Acala to launch. The major difference there is we will be able to issue folks who participate in this way a one-to-one DOT to LC DOT token. And then this LC DOT token will be issued to you once Acala goes live, right? So then you actually receive 2 tokens once Acala goes live. Obviously, your normal ACA reward, as well as this LC DOT. Why would you need an LC DOT? LC DOT is basically an early liquidity for the DOT that you locked in a Crowdloan, right? And then the first thing is there will be a pair, the trading pair between LC DOT and DOT. So for folks who, for whatever reason, if you do want your DOT back earlier, you could do the trading there. And then the second thing is LC DOT makes almost a perfect collateral assets in the DOT ecosystem because it is almost risk-free, right? Because the DOT locked in the Crowdloan is sitting at Polkadot relay chain. And then in 2 years' time, it's going to be trustlessly released back to the contributors. So the LC DOT is almost risk-free. And it's as good as the DOT. So they can be used as a collateral to mint stablecoin. And as well as there are already a number of DeFi protocols that plays and generates additional yield for DOT-based assets on top of Acala, right? So then by holding the LC DOT, all you have is more options. You could just hold it, right, and do nothing. And then in 2 years' time, you get your DOT back. You could do that. And then the second thing is you can sell it off. So if you do want to trade it for dollars, for DOT, you can do that. You can trade it. And then the third thing is if there are any yield opportunities available, either on Acala or on all other apps built on Acala or even other chains connected to Acala, you can have the option or choice to use the LC DOT to participate in other DeFi activity. And then, in that sense, we kind of release the real power. Using DeFi as your assets can be in 2 different places right at exactly the same time without compromising each other's utility, right? So we are doing Crowdloan at the same time as DeFi and other stuff at the same time. So this is how LC DOT works. And obviously there's there are a lot of details that you might be asking. So, today is mostly just giving you an idea that there are alternatives to just a standard way of contribution. And then we're still keeping the standard way, right? So it's not like, it's basically you can do both. You can do the standard way, directly contribute to the Crowdloan on the Polkadot, or you could contribute to the Acala Liquid Crowdloan Vault so that you can actually mint this LC DOT and be able to use in other places. So there you go. I think one of the most frequently asked questions is this. So that's it. And in terms of ways to participate in Acala's Crowdloan, last time for Kusama we have a website, so this time there will be a website as well. So a lot of this is for you to actually get your head around what are the options and then think ahead, maybe how you want to allocate certain portion in certain options. But through the website, it's very straightforward. Basically, a couple of clicks and you can finish your participation. But option 1 is direct contribution, and then you receive ACA. You lock your DOT on Polkadot relay chain, and then you get it back in 2 years. And then option 2 is this LC DOT option, liquid crowdloan DOT. You contribute and stay liquid. Because the way we set it up, you can have a lower minimum contribution amount, just 1 DOT. You also receive ACA reward. You also receive this LC DOT, which is basically a receipt of your contribution, which is redeemable for the DOT in 2 years' time if you still own it. In between the 2 years, as I mentioned, you can trade it, transfer it, DeFi it, or whatever you want to do with it. And then there's 2 other options. Option 3 and option 4. I think there's a typo there. You can obviously use. You can participate via supported exchanges and also mobile wallets, right? So all of those will be listed on the website for you to get ready. So.
Cool. There were a couple questions in chat that I'll just answer. So one of the questions was about minimum. So you can see here, the minimum is less for option 2, where you're using LC DOT. The minimum of option 1 is 5 DOT. And then people were asking what happens if they sell their LC DOT. So by contributing to the crowd loan, you're locking up your DOT. And then when we distribute the ACA, when Acala launches, we'll distribute LC DOT with that. So you'll get all the LC DOT and all the ACA all at the same time, right after Acala launches. So that's very soon after Acala's crowd loan. If you went on and sold your LC DOT, you would have no tokens to go back and get your original DOT, that you contributed to the crowd loan. So you would need that LC DOT to then go back and redeem that for your original DOT to get that back. So if you did sell it and you wanted to get your DOT back, what you would have to do is you would have to buy more LC DOT maybe in 2 years, right before that unlock happens. Get your LC DOT back in whatever way you want, and then you have the token that you need to redeem for the underlying DOT. So there's going to be, I'm sure, a lot of strategy around this that I'm sure everyone in the community will talk about how to go about this. But bottom line is option 1 is just like the standard contribution, contribute DOT, you get ACA, and then after 2 years, the DOT is unlocked. And then option 2, it allows you to get liquid. It allows you to get this LC DOT token and do whatever you decide to do with it over the 2 years, and then you can redeem that for the underlying DOT after 2 years.
Yeah, and these 2 options are not mutually exclusive, right? You can do both.
Yeah.
So just by comparison, option 1, the reason why it's option 1 is the purest way, right? Because this is the official way for participating in the Polkadot crowd loan as well as Kusama crowd loan, for that matter. So that's why we always put it up as number 1, and that's always there for you to choose to participate if you want. And then for the option 2, this has to go into mechanics, right? So for the option 2, Dan, if you can go back up in the previous slide. Yeah, so you can see for option 2, you're actually contributing your DOT to a liquid crowd loan vault managed by Acala, right? So there's a temporary period of time before the Acala blockchain launch, you are contributing to the vault. And then as soon as Acala launch, this vault will go on to the blockchain and then become decentralized. So there is a short period of time, you're kind of trusting Acala to manage this vault, right? So I think if there's anything, that's the caveat or the so-called disadvantage, and that will be it, right? But the way that we are handling it is once Acala network is launched, and this whole thing will become on the blockchain and managed by the blockchain, you can actually track all the activities and things like that. And the redemption, as well as managing the LC DOT, are all going to be managed on Acala blockchain trustlessly through something like a smart contract, but it's on a Polkadot sense, it's called pallet or module.
Great. So one last thing. Give me 1 second. Okay. So okay, one more fun thing to roll out to you guys before we get into questions. Our team, a huge shout out to Brett and Robin for all the work on this. We've put together a kind of like a game for everyone to get onboarded and get prepared for the Acala Crowdloan. So we're going to be rolling out Acala quests, and this actually just went live. So all of you guys, if it's not 3 in the morning and you're ready to go to bed, you can get on this after the call today and start doing this. But this is a way to earn additional bonuses for the Crowdloan, plus an NFT that we're creating for everyone, just for getting ready for the Crowdloan. So what it is it's a way to walk you through the process of setting up your wallet or setting up your account, verifying your email, and then becoming a DOT holder and just proving that through signing a message, which we'll kind of walk you through in the process. By completing these quests, you earn an additional 2% in the Acala Crowdloan. You get the Acala Quest NFT, and then you get a referral code that you can use to get up to 10% additional bonus in the Crowdloan. So here's what it looks like. Here's the link. So it's, Robin, if you want to paste this, acala.network/acala/quests. This is the game, and it connects to your Polkadot.js wallet in the browser. So it'll walk you through the process of downloading Polkadot.js, which is the wallet that you need to participate in the Acala Crowdloan. It'll walk you through verifying your email just to make sure that's all set. And then you just have to verify that you have a little bit of DOT in your wallet that shows that you're ready for the Crowdloan. Let me just show my screen what this looks like. Here's the live page. So explore quests. You can choose your account here. Go to quest 1, and it should, yeah. So it'll pop you down here. There will be a video here. I believe this is being added like right as we speak. But downloading your Polkadot.js, complete the quest, and it should work. Yep. And then verify your email. So it'll go through that process. You do that. And then the final stage is you just have to click submit a box through the Polkadot.js extension, and it'll verify that quest. So then the only 2 left for you to complete are quest number 4, which is contributing to the Acala Crowdloan. And then quest number 5 is when you get to claim your NFT. So let me...
So if you already have DOT in your wallet, it will still work, right? So the whole point of this is us helping more people getting to know Polkadot, and then onboarding to Polkadot, and then also get to know the Crowdloan and support, Acala, as well as, there are many other projects coming as well. So
yep, yeah, and I see some. Yeah, there's not. You just have to complete this before you do the Crowdloan. So there's not a rush. I see Clifton said that he's not able to do it in the next week. That's fine. You have time, so you don't have to get this done tonight. But it's just a way for everyone to get onboarded, and also helping your friends. If you have friends that are wanting to get into the Polkadot community and getting involved in the Acala Crowdloan, send them here as a way to just learn how to get all ready, all set up and ready for the Crowdloans. So I believe, let me go back. Yep, so that's it. Hopefully everyone had fun. I know I was really looking forward to this presentation and getting these products rolled out. Most importantly, we walked you through Polkadot and Acala, and then preparing everyone for the Acala Crowdloan coming up. Now you know about our latest product that's launching, which is the LC DOT, or Liquid Crowdloan DOT product, which helps people contribute to the Crowdloan and maintain the liquidity of their DOT. And then finally, you've got the link now, and we'll send that also in the email follow-up. But going through the quests and starting to get ready for the crowd loan and earning additional bonuses and NFTs.
I will answer two questions. One is the timing of the crowd loan, like when you should get ready. The second is about the wallet, right? So in general, like I don't have a date, so I can't answer that directly. But basically, I think Kusama is very chaotic, but for Polkadot, I expect it to be a little bit more zen. So you don't need to panic. You don't need to unban large amount of DOT today just because we're doing this crowdcast. I think everything will be announced from Polkadot side, and then we will also amplify those messages. And those announcements will give you at least 28 days to unbound, right? So unless you want to get in super early, then you leave a little bit of DOT in your hand. But otherwise, you don't need to be so panicking. Because there will be, huge announcements, and we will actually notify you as well. And then even you take action, then you will still have time to participate in everything that we mentioned today. So that's one thing I want to point out. And then the second thing is regarding wallets. So first of all, Ledger is not supported. Ledger is not supported by Polkadot. Ledger is not supporting Polkadot crowd loan specifically. That's just like the technical stuff that it couldn't be done. So the best, if you want to use a self-custody wallet, the best option, well, one of the best options is obviously the official Polkadot JS extension wallet. And of course, there are other alternatives like Parity Signer, like various other Polkadot ecosystem mobile wallets as well. And with regard to which wallet, which exchange will support, we've contacted most of the exchanges supported us during the Kusama crowd loan, and almost all of them said they would support, and there's no reason not to support Polkadot. So I'm taking that as a yes for those exchanges. But of course, the final verdict should come from the exchanges themselves, whether they are supporting it and in what way they're supporting it. The same goes to the mobile wallets, right? So last time there's Polka Wallet, there's Fearless Wallet, and there's also a new wallet, Nova Wallet, I think it's called. And then there's also Math Wallet. They support the crowd loan. But of course, the final verdict should always come from those service providers as well, because it's up to them to how they support it. So
cool. We've got 50 questions. I can go through some of the top questions. Do you have to run in a couple minutes, Betty?
Yeah, sure. I can go on for 5 or 10 minutes.
Cool. First one is how many ACA will be credited for one DOT. So that's not been released yet. Just keep following the email or the social channels, and we'll be announcing that ratio soon. Which wallets? Betty just answered that. Do we need USDT or Polkadot to participate? So hopefully after this presentation, you need Polkadot and DOT tokens to participate. And the minimum for option 1, the direct contribution is 5, and then the minimum for the other option is 1 DOT. Maximum, there's no maximum per individual. There will be one maximum for the overall Acala Crowdloan, and that'll also be something that we release in the coming days or weeks. Is there a KYC requirement? So there's no KYC requirement. There will be terms and conditions similar to what we had with the Karura Crowdloan if you participated in that one. So the judgment on that is up to you and what jurisdiction you live in. And if you're not sure, I would just seek some legal advice from someone. Will Polkadot Crowdloans work in the same way as Kusama? Yes, they will work basically exactly the same. Yeah. So this is a more general question. What makes Acala stand out from other DeFi platforms? I probably don't want to spend a lot of time on that because we spent maybe 15, 20 minutes talking about Acala and Polkadot and all the reasons why we were building Acala and the innovation that we're building. So for whoever asked that, Ashlyn, hopefully the presentation earlier answered that for you. A lot of questions about how much ACA or when the crowd loan. So we don't know the date yet. We're in the same boat as you guys. We're also waiting for the date from Polkadot. So you can ask, I guess don't even ask Polkadot. Like they're doing this as quickly as they can, and Polkadot will make it very widely known as soon as this is ready. And one note on that, there's a Polkadot developer conference called Sub-Zero that starts tomorrow. So definitely watch that. It's going to be good. It'll be pretty technical, but it's a way to learn about all the top developers and teams. Acala's kind of technical co-founder, Brian Chen, will be there on a panel along with Web3 Foundation, Moonbeam, and Astar. So check out the Sub-Zero conference. There may be some releases around parachains or parachain auctions during that, but we don't know necessarily. Cool. We have answered most of these questions that are all upvoted. So I'll go, if there's any other questions that are unanswered, I'll go through this and see if there are and include that in the follow-up email. If not, I'll be sending an email to all of you with the link to Quests, with a link to the YouTube video about crowd loans if you still want to learn more about how that works. Like we said, we will let you all know as soon as the crowd loan is opening up, and we'll let you know soon around like the cap of the crowd loan, the ratio of ACA to DOT, and all those details. But for now, get started on your quest. That's opened up. And thanks everybody for taking the time to learn more about Acala and Polkadot and all the parachain auctions that are beginning soon. And we hope to see you here soon. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.